Hello, it's Steven, the calculator guy, and we're going to talk about the Cronos Chain today. Now, I was actually in Cro quite a while ago, back when it was at like 19 or 17 cents, and we had that sort of like big May dip, and I was thinking, hey, because their DeFi wallet just came out, and I was like, I can stake this thing for like 40% APR, which back then was like mind-blowing to me, and so I did all that, and it was like a 40-something day lockup period, which was just ridiculous. But I was like, okay, this is just what staking is. You know, I was new to the game, and like then the coin just started tanking and tanking and tanking. So eventually, I pulled out all my money from like all my investments because everything was going down. I threw it all in strong block and didn't look back, and cannot be grateful enough that that happened. However, I do kind of wish I stayed in Cro because the token has been doing really well lately. However, it is also experiencing a bit of a correction. So before we go forward, full disclosure, let's look at the Cro token, just so you have a better idea of how it's doing. Ohm is down to 584. That is a bit of a correction. But let's look at Cro. So here we're at about 60 cents, which may seem low relatively, but if we look at the 30-day, we'll see that, you know, we came from 25 cents, peaked around like $1, right? Is that, yeah, like 94 cents, and now we're back at 60. So this to me is a bit of a healthy correction because we got really up here. Maybe we're overheated, maybe we were above the RSI. I'm not going to do TA right now, but now, you know, so cool, we're still up. Now the Cro, if you don't know, the Cro ecosystem is like the crypto.com DeFi chain. So Binance has the Binance Smart Chain, crypto.com, which now has the crypto.com Stadium, has the Cronos decentralized chain. So a lot of things are popping up on it, and I think they're going to be winners, they're going to be losers. Of course, I'm waiting for their own yield aggregator, something like Gram, that's going to have a little bit better APY than Beefy, for example. But for now, Beefy is totally fine. So if you go on DeFi Llama and go to the Cronos chain, the way you would do that is just click chains and then Cronos, which is 14th. And I don't want to hype anything. So that's not what I'm here to do. But you have to remember that Cronos is backed by CDC, which is spending absurd amounts on just like smashing their logo on anything. You know, it's on fighters' underwear in the UFC. It's on like walls. They literally bought a stadium and called it Crypto.com Stadium. Like racers have, like, so they're branding everything around them. And I don't know if that's just where the majority of their money is, but like, so I could see this token or this chain being potentially higher on this list. That's all I will say. I'm not going to shill it. I don't want to FUD it. But where it is now, it could see some mobility because it has a really big back behind it. Like if, I don't want to compare to Coinbase, but let's just say like Coinbase, similar to Binance, if Coinbase launched their own decentralized chain, you would imagine that it would be a top 15, top 12, maybe even top 10 chain relatively quickly. So I'm not saying it's going to happen with Cro, but it has been climbing up the ranks pretty quickly, and here it is right now. So we click on it, and you can look at all the protocols that are, or the biggest protocols on the chain. So I was interested in like the ones that are just Cronos. And the reason I was is because usually you'll find the best APY or APR there because it's just like this is particularly Cronos. They can specialize and focus and all that kind of stuff. So I looked at VVS, we'll look at VVS, and I looked at Cronosswap, which were sort of the first two that popped out to me. So Vbs Finance has a bunch of farms, and you can check out the APR. Cro ETH, this is nice and cool, and what you have to remember, and which is my rule of thumb, if you're going to farm on an APR farm, you're going to get rewarded in a native farm token. And so this is this native farm token. If this opens up a chart, we can sort of see what's happening. It's not opening up a chart, so I'm just going to Google it. This is the VVS token. Oh, price, here we go. Can I zoom out? No, I can't zoom out. Okay, so it's remarkably stable, which is surprising, in my opinion, because as I always say, farm tokens trend towards zero. So I don't want much exposure to that, even as stable as it may look. So if I were to enter any of these pools, I would manually compound frequently, but I would probably look for a yield aggregator auto compounder instead. But what I will say is the APRs are pretty impressive. So remember, Crow is the native token of this blockchain. So Crow is not like some shitcoin. Crow is like AVAX or Phantom. I mean, not as lofty as those ones, but it's like that in so much as it's going to be the gas token of this chain. So Crow ETH at 245% APR is incredible. If you can put that in a yield aggregator, which you can, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to running a few of these farms on the bet that Crow stays in the scene. So there are some decent farming opportunities for stablecoins here. Like we have a 24% APR, which probably translates to like 27-ish% APY, and Crow UST. So if you only want like half exposure to an asset, a volatile crypto asset, and half exposure to a stable, these ones look pretty good. Okay, so hop over to Cronoswap. Same thing, guys. You know, we're looking at a farm token. I don't want to get rewarded in the farm token, even if it has an APR of 500 and whatever. You know, we can look at how the price has gone. Again, this chain is relatively new. Okay, well, we're not getting a picture of the chart here, but so similar things, right? The stable Crow pair around 220, 230. Here we have 220, 230. Okay, pretty similar. 26. No, that said 260 per second. 26. All right, so. Neat. I also like this one, BUSD, USDT. So I would probably search this one out on a yield aggregator. Okay, so those are the two biggest Crow-only protocols. But I was also interested in like the up-and-coming ones. So I scrolled down, I found this swap with two P's, and also Cronoswap. I think I looked at Cronoswap. But these ones, if you look at it, up 18%, up 16%. Those are pretty big increases, so they probably just made it on this list recently. Fortune DAO. Oh, Fort. Okay. We're not going to look at any DAOs right now, but there is a DAO if you're interested. So Cronoswap, we already have open, and then swap with two P's. So connect wallet. Sure. I'm partially just hoping that one of these is going to be a yield aggregator that's like specific to the chain or like has some sort of auto compounding ability. No, it's just APRs. But like, you know, which one is the best? So this is actually pretty good, right? 37.71%. I would be totally cool. 58%. So I want this on an auto compounder. So first I would look at Beefy, which is like my trusted auto compounder. And then I would go to AutoFarm, which there is some math that I occasionally find questionable on AutoFarm, which is not FUD. It's simply, I'll show you. If it is a case here, I'll show you. So we found some good swaps, right? We haven't found any auto compounders, any yield aggregators that are specific to this chain, but we found some good swaps and we found some good potential APRs. So now what we want to do is we want to go to the auto compounders and see if they're available over there. So Cronoswap seems to have some pretty good stable opportunities and also some good Crow opportunities. So like, ooh, Phantom Crow, that's kind of cool. They have that. USD, that's okay. It's interesting that these are actually lower than the other ones. But then die out of left field with the 329. Oof, dog coins. Okay, so that's Cronoswap, pretty decent APRs. I looked at this one and I was really intrigued but I couldn't tell like if there was a deposit fee that they're not advertising. Because if you look at this, right, you look at the stable pair and they're advertising 624% APR. You would imagine that's because there's some sort of deposit fee that they're secretly utilizing and like getting some amount of money. But I looked at all around this protocol, and there's no, from my perspective, no advertised deposit fee. And because there's this high APR and because there's no advertised deposit fee, I am admittedly a little bit hesitant to enter. I would have wished that they said a 0% deposit fee, or like a, whatever the deposit fee was out in the open, even if it was 0%, just so that I would have confidence jumping into this pool, because that's really good APR. Now, of course, I would prefer to auto compound this pool rather than have any level of exposure to whatever coin, whatever, farm coin they just want to mint into infinity and throw at me. So let's look at the yield aggregators on Cronos. All right, beefy, but yes, I will look at auto farm. We can compare yields there. So for beefy, you can actually see which platforms that they connect to. Over here, just click platforms. You have Cronoswap and Vbs. So you're limited to 2, really. And then they have their own sort of beefy farms. So Cronoswap and Vbs, which we looked at. Those were the top 2. The top 2 proprietary sort of chain, not proprietary, but like the chain specific farms, which are going to usually have the best or most trusted protocols. So if you look here, I'm not really interested in any of the farms that have these tokens, like the VBS token or the Chrono token. Simply not interested. I don't want exposure to those. Even if they seem stable, because they could drop off at any moment, and my long-term prediction on all of them is that they will eventually do that. So we have Crow BTC. This one is super juicy, in my opinion, because I am not bearish on Crow. I'm not bullish on Crow, but I'm not bearish on it. I don't think that there's any reason that it should like tank. I don't think that CDC Crypto.com is the best centralized exchange. In fact, I prefer not to use them when I can avoid them. But I do like that they have a card, and they've had a card for a while. They were sort of like at the forefront of that. There's a whole history there that I'm not going to get into, but if you know, you know. And so, they've done some interesting things in this space. I will admit that, and I'll give them that. So I'm not bearish on this pair, and I wouldn't mind doing like a Crow BTC. I wouldn't mind doing a Crow ETH, but that's if I wanted exposure to chain tokens. If you were bullish on a continuation of a bull run, or if you just wanted to accumulate these tokens because you're not really concerned about fiat value, you just want to accumulate like chain tokens that you think will eventually survive any sort of market circumstances. And so these would be a great chance to hop in and sort of get those. And they're even showing the deposit fee. So VVS really doesn't have a deposit fee. It's really good. Crow DAI at 1000% APY. Imagine a phantom DAI pair, right? With 1000% APY. You would jump on that immediately. So I do think there are opportunities on the Crow chain that are interesting that people may be missing out on because it's still early on the Crow chain. Now, early does mean volatile, early does mean additional risk, but we do have to remember that the Crow chain is backed by CDC. Again, CDC is not like the number 1 DEX or number 2 DEX, but it is a SEX, centralized exchange. It is one of these centralized exchanges that's definitely up there on the list. So really quickly, let's check the math on that Crow DAI pair. So it says okay, they just changed it. It says 1.07 thousand APY. And if you look at this, it says that the vault APR is 235.74. So then if we go over here and check, do a quick refresh, just in case these have changed, we'll see the advertised APR is 234.21. So instead of the 235.74, we're looking at 234.21. So I imagine, necessarily, this is going to be a little bit higher than what you're actually getting in the moment. And one way to see what you would really be getting is to use, this free little tool that I made. So just toss in that 230. If I look like I'm bouncing a bit, it's because I'm bouncing my like 2-month-old daughter on a rocker over here. So anyways, we'll throw this in 233.39 right here. 233.39. We're gonna get like 924. So that's pretty good. Like half an hour ago, it was at like 850. So these APYs are volatile. So whenever you see this, just like take it with a grain of salt. Focus more on the daily than the yearly, because the daily is going to be more consistently accurate under a shorter time frame for what should be obvious reasons. All right, let's look at AutoFarm just to compare how they're doing. AutoFarm also has Crodex, but I didn't find any compelling farms on there. Maybe that's just me. So it's interesting this uses wrapped Crow instead of Crow, but the Crow die pair that they have 1.1k, so this is sort of what we were seeing earlier on Beefy. We know that this is not exactly accurate, that we're probably going to be seeing something closer to 924%. So I'm not saying like either one of these is more accurate than the other, because Beefy literally had 1.22k like 30 minutes ago, when that would have been wildly inaccurate. I mean, not wildly inaccurate, inaccurate by 200%, which sounds crazy, but it's only, you know, however many percentage points. Okay, so that will just about wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. The short and skinny of it is that Crow is an, I guess up and coming is kind of the right phrase for it, up and coming DeFi chain that is, I guess, backed or run or comes from the crypto.com ecosystem, similar to the Binance Smart Chain coming from Binance. So it has access to resources that can bolster a team. There are some pretty interesting farming opportunities here. I would say that out of the multiple chains that exist, these farming opportunities are pretty attractive. So go ahead and check them out. You know, if you want to onload some Crow, one of the easy ways to do that is you can put money onto CDC, crypto.com. You know, they have their centralized exchange wallet. You can buy Crow there and then just transfer it right to your MetaMask using whatever Crow chain thing they have. So that's one way. Another way is, well, to get funds, to get Crow, probably you're going to want to use some exchange and send your Crow through that chain. I don't know if KuCoin allows you to do that yet, or Binance or any other place, but I do know that Crypto.com, well, Crypto.com is relatively easy to set up. I will give them that, if that's the way you want to go. To get like funds from other chains, you can use AnySwap. AnySwap already has access to Crow. I'll show you really quickly. And there are a few pretty big coins that you could send over to the Crow chain. Okay, well, so like these are the available coins that you could send from Binance. BUSD probably the biggest one. And MAI is another stable coin. So you could send BUSD or MAI or BNB. And then you could, you know, go to one of these exchanges and trade it for whatever you want. So that's it, guys. Also, I will say that because now I'm doing the whole thumbnail thing, and I may even have a video editor at some point, these videos are going to be released not immediately after I make them. They're going to be released a day after I make them. So if you want to watch the videos before anyone else watches them, you can join my Patreon. So my Patreon is going to have access to, some neat alpha. They're going to have access to this folder where all my video files are going to be. So they will be able to see the videos before anyone else, which will generally only be like between half a day and 2 days before anyone else gets to see them. Now, I may have some videos that I'm planning on releasing as a series, and they will be able to watch those ahead of time. So I'm trying to maintain like decent content and privileges for the people in Patreon, while also not sacrificing content on the YouTube. So that's that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.